Hey, welcome into another edition of the North Idaho Prepcast here on IdahoSports.com. Season 5, Episode 24. This great year. As always, it's streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and our X account. And it's also sponsored by Cornerstone Insurance. If you have a friend or anyone that you would want to see this Prepcast, you can always share, like and subscribe. Find a way to get that to your friend or whoever you want to see this Prepcast. It's always great to spread the good news that everything that we're doing here on IdahoSports.com. Well, I'll bring on our co-host and Ryan Scaggs. I wanted to ask you this: football season's now over. Are you the type of guy that's counting till the next season to look forward to the NFL season?
I'm not a massive NFL fan. I mean, I'm a Seahawks fan, and I've unfortunately been a Seahawks fan since I was a child.
Unfortunately,
I had to suffer through the like Rick Meyer era, just not to date myself, but those were some painful days. Then we had like Kitna and some other guys thrown in there before we finally saw our success when they went to the Super Bowl against the Steelers. But yeah, no, we were celebrating over the weekend. My son's a huge Seahawks fan. So him and I were embracing at the end of that one because he finally got to watch his favorite NFL team win a world championship, which was awesome. But yeah, no, I'm more of a college football fan than I am NFL probably, but I love sports anyways. But I'm excited because P's and C's reported. So like pitchers and catchers showed up, spring training's getting underway, and dude, I'm stoked about the Mariners' hopes this year. I mean, with their lineup and what they bring in, it's gonna be. It could be a good year. I don't know. I don't ever like get my hopes too high with the Mariners because I've watched a lot of bad baseball over the years. But with the additions that they've made in the offseason, especially at second base or third base, wherever he ends up playing, I'm stoked. I'm excited.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe we talk more about the Seattle Mariners during the spring season than we do about any other professional sport here on the Prepcast.
I mean, the fall was fun, man. I mean, as a lifelong Mariners fan, the playoffs were awesome, and I mean, I was bummed they didn't get to the World Series, but that's the closest I've ever seen them make it. And to kind of come out of left field, that they weren't the favorite going into the season. People knew that they were going to be okay, but having the run that they did, especially down the stretch, man, that was special. That was a ton of fun. And even being, because, Owen and I, my son, we got to go to the game where Cal Raleigh tied the all-time record for home runs for a catcher. So that was a cool moment because we had like the personal tie to the season, and there was the buy-in there down the playoff stretch.
Well, that was our intro into February.
Yeah, we're talking about baseball. That tells you about how exciting things are, right? Yeah, I say that tongue in cheek because there's a lot going on right now.
There is, yeah. Girls basketball is wrapping up. We're heading into the week of districts. Next week, state for girls. Wrestling's only a couple weeks away. And then boys state basketball, not too far away either, only a few weeks. So today we're going to hit on the girls district basketball, just around District 1 and 2. We're going to have our North Idaho 9, and then we have another bracket that we felt like we could pull out. We're trying to come up with as many topics as we can, and this one's going to be a good one. So we're looking forward to it.
There will be controversy surrounding this one, I would pretty much assure you. I think more so than the mascot bracket.
There's a little more argument in this one. I agree. In the chat, Kofi AM, try being a Raiders fan, Ryan. I agree. That would be horrible.
I mean, my son loves Ashton Genty, and I'm a Boise State guy, so I've got some buy-in with the Raiders and the silver and black. He got a Genty jersey for Christmas, so he's I think he's there. I mean, not probably the diehards. I got friends that are diehard Raiders fans that since the late 90s, their life has been kind of non-existent. So it's been a rough roll if you're a Raiders fan, that's for sure.
Yeah, not too fun. All right, well, let's actually start with boys basketball. The one highlight around the weekend was the Prairie Pirates. They went to Kendrick and played on Friday night after losing the night prior to Lakeside. Shout out to Lakeside. Lakeside Knights won by 20 in Cottonwood, so that was a huge win for Lakeside. But the very next night, Prairie on a back-to-back goes and plays Kendrick, takes them to the wire, ends up beating the Tigers by 4 points in Kendrick. So a huge win for a top 4 team in the state against the number 1 undoubtedly team. that was a performance I think we've been waiting to kind of see from Prairie, and I think we finally got.
Yeah, and especially with Prairie, getting shelled by Lakeside the night prior. I think that was the one that kind of shocked us. Is that maybe that was a game that kind of woke them up a little bit more than anything and stirred the pot a little bit for Prairie. Kendrick, we know just how good they are. I mean, they returned the lion's share of their lineup from a state championship team last year, and even got stronger with the addition of Nathan Twite coming back. And shout out to Nathan Twite, by the way, signing with the Idaho Vandals for football to play safety. But yeah, that was a huge win for Prairie. I mean, and I don't ever say losses don't matter, but I think for Kendrick, that's a good wake up call. I mean, that comes at the right time, that you can kind of regroup and resettle. And I mean, maybe there's something that was exposed in what they run too. And Prairie was able to, kind of take advantage of it. You talked about it and I talked about it off air, in Texas, Prairie size, man, they gave Kendrick fits. And is that the way that you can attack Kendrick with the lineup is by getting big? But then you talk about teams like Lakeside where they're smaller and they just absolutely ran roughshod over Prairie because they're so fast and they run in transition. So, I look at those three teams. I think they're definitive, favorites for state championship come tournament time. A lot can happen in districts too. I understand that, but if the dust settled today, I think Kendrick's still the favorite. Lakeside is one of those teams that, man, you watch them, you can't. I mean, good night. That team is they're so up and down the floor, and they'll just run you ragged. That's a team that in a tournament situation would be, that would be hell to play a team like that in the first or second round of a state tournament, or even in the championship where your legs are already dead, and a team that can just get out and push the floor like that. Lakeside's going to have to be taken very, very seriously for that state tournament, state championship conversation. I mean, that's a team that's a legit contender.
100%. Right now in the White Pine League, assuming everything else goes chalk, Prairie actually does hold the number 1 seed. So they'll go into districts as the 1. Kendrick will go in as 2. Just because of the tiebreakers, Prairie will have the 1. And so how much do you take into that? There's a good chance that even though Kendrick's the 2 seed, you'd still probably favor him heading into that title game, both teams assuming they get there. But in the next couple weeks, that district tournament's going to be a lot of fun to see in Lewiston. We're looking forward to that. But that was the main headline for boys basketball. Girls basketball, let's start at the very top and work our way down. In 6A right now, it's Coeur d'Alene and Post Falls. Coeur d'Alene just won, I believe, a couple nights ago. They win tonight or tomorrow, I think it is. Correct me on my days here. They clinched their spot to state. Post Falls has an uphill battle to get in there. In 5A, there was a firework game last night between Lakeland and Sandpoint. Lakeland ended up winning 77-73. That's a ridiculous score for high school basketball, let alone
especially high school girls. You don't see them get up and down the floor like that. But I mean, no. we know Lakeland can offensively light it up, and so when I saw that and we were talking, it's like, man, Sandpoint loses they scored 70 points. That's a team that struggled to even hit the 30 mark the last time they played. And so, that to see that result, I think is a great indication of the coaching within that group, because the talent's there for Sandpoint to be competitive. And they're going to be 1 and 2 at state if they both get in. They're going to be the 1 seed and 2 seed come seeding line on Sunday. So, Sandpoint's going to have to take care of business against Moscow. They can't have a slip up. Otherwise, they're watching at home and they're going to be listening to us. So, they'll be tuned in to IdahoSports.com, checking out the state tournament next week. But Sandpoint's got to take care of business with the Bears. Lakeland, though, just how many weapons they've got within that lineup is just so dang impressive, between Hoffman and Kiefer and just, the bigs down low and the size that they have in the paint, but also the athleticism that they have around the perimeter is just, it's such a balanced lineup that they can play multiple ways and just find ways to win in tough games. And that was what showed up last night.
Yeah, it was a very impressive shot-making basketball game. So that game for Sandpoint and Moscow will be tomorrow night. The winner goes on to play Saturday in Grangeville. That game will be on IdahoSports.com. I'll be covering that one. That'll be against the 2 seed. I believe it's the 3 seed coming out of out of District 3. So we're looking forward to that. 4A, Timberlake's clinched their spot. They beat Bonners Ferry in the first game. They only had to win one of them. So Timberlake has punched their ticket. And right now it looks like Timberlake's going to be a 3 seed, which is exactly where we thought they'd be if they won the games they needed to. They're in a prime spot heading into the state tournament next weekend. Really looking forward to seeing them.
3 seed is huge for them, getting off that 4 line so they avoid what would look like Sugar Salem in a semifinal matchup. And I think getting the more favorable half of that bracket, I mean, Sugar's a juggernaut. Let's be honest. That team is just lights out. But you want to talk about additions that happened in the offseason with that Timberlake group, man, they're loaded. I mean, they've got phenomenal guard play. Then they've got some threats now in the paint and around the perimeter as well with the additions that they've made with Semper Mosnick. And, I mean, it's been awesome to see. And I'm sorry, maybe it's Uhlenkott. I'm sorry, not Semper Mosnick that ended up transferring. I apologize. So I don't want to say somebody left the school and didn't actually leave their school. And the Macy Murphy addition as well for that Timberlake group. That's a lineup that you talk about talent on paper. That's as good as any team in the bracket. And so, could this be the year that Timberlake, maybe they make the state championship game, make another return trip there? And could they upset, what looks like the juggernaut overwhelming favorite in Sugar Salem that's undefeated thus far in the year? That's a team that they beat good teams this year. They beat Lakeland, and they've played, the other big schools up north really, really tough. So, that's a team I definitely would not count out come tournament time down there next weekend.
No doubt. In the 3A landscape, Grangeville Kellogg play tonight for the district championship. Winner moves on to the state tournament. Loser will have a play-in game against whoever comes around on the other side of the bracket, likely someone like Orofino. So that's who the loser would play. And then 3A gets 2 seeds to 2 bids to the state tournament. So we'll likely maybe see Grangeville Kellogg. That's probably the most likely teams to get there. They've done really well this year. Both of them have. So that's who's going to likely come out of 3A. In the 2A landscape, there was a big change up last night. Lapway beat Prairie 41-23. That was kind of a shocker to the world after Prairie's win by 30 just a few weeks ago. But Lapway's defense, they stepped up, and holy cow, they made Prairie miss a lot of shots. And
because I mean, if you would have said hey, Prairie's going to hold Lapway to 41 points, you're like, oh, so Prairie won by 15. No. Lapway made that game ugly, and they won in an ugly game, but they won convincingly in an ugly game. Let's just put it that way. I mean, that's a definitive salvo kind of fired across the bow, and Lapway gets themselves out of that play-in position and gets the automatic bid and goes into the tournament not having to play Saturday against, a team that is going to be pretty darn good, which looking like I think Raft River right now is going to be probably who they're playing. And that's a team right there, Raft River, that could be a semifinal team. So, one of those teams is going to be absent from the tournament if Lapway's able to take care of Prairie's able to take care of business and get that number 2 seed out of District 2. But, having to play that playing game is a big, like, you can't overlook that one and just assume you're in the bracket, because that's going to be a tough game.
And they have to play Kamiah tomorrow as well. So they're not in, even if they, they still have to take care of business against the Cubs. That's a team that they only beat by 4 just like last week. And so granted, they did beat them by 15 like 3 days ago, like last Saturday, but it's not a tough task for Prairie. So they put themselves to get back against the wall, and we'll see how they do. In the 1A district, Lakeside and Wallace, they'll play tomorrow to clinch their spot into state. There's only one bid coming out of District 1. And then also up north in 1A District 1 is Kootenai and Mullen. They play Thursday. That game was actually rescheduled, Scaggs.
Yep. Supposed to take place last night. A litany of sicknesses is what I heard. Multiple players out with ailments going around. I mean, it's cold and flu season. There's been nasty bugs going around. So good on them for leveling the playing field and making that happen tomorrow night for a district championship game at NIC, inside the friendly confines of Christensen Gymnasium. A lot of crazy things have happened in that gym over the years. So, maybe we see some excitement, some fireworks with the 2As and 1As taking place tomorrow night.
Yeah, no doubt there. And then lastly, in District 2 of the 1A ranks, there was the district championship last night between Highland and Nez Perce. It was the Highland Huskies' first district championship in over 23
You mean
years.
Nez Perce?
No, it was the first. Well, sorry, it was the first time Highland had been to a district championship in
Okay.
over 23 years. Nez Perce, it was their first title since 2018.
Yeah.
And so both teams hadn't been there hadn't won in a few years. Nez Perce was there last year. Nez Perce ended up getting the win. Highland now is in a play-in game against Deary, a team they beat Saturday. So Highland came in as the 4 seed, knocked off, or not Saturday, Monday. They knocked them off on Monday. And then, now they're playing them, 72 hours later, the same team they beat, and win or go on. And whoever wins that game will play on Saturday in Cottonwood against the runner-up out of District 3, which will likely be Garden Valley. And so still a lot of seeds left to be determined in the girls basketball landscape, but we're getting there, Scaggs. And I tell you what, I look forward to next week. I think there's a lot of teams that have potential to make a run at a state championship.
Oh, absolutely. Out of the North, I think there's, you talk about at 5A, you've got two legit contenders. You've got Coeur d'Alene, who wants to throw their hat in the ring at 6A as a contender. Timberlake, I think every classification has a team that has, high aspirations or high hopes. Deary and Nez Perce, we've seen Nez Perce play out of their minds at time this year. And, we've seen Deary be dominant down stretches too, and then end up having the weird, wacky loss in an ugly game against Highland. And that's still a team. They're one of those schools is going to have to play Salmon River in the second round, which sucks if they win the first round game, because Salmon River right now looks like they could go on and win a number of classifications. Like, that team is just absolutely loaded and they play lights out. And I'll pat myself on the back for picking them in our preseason champion picks. But yeah, not to rooster walk too much, but yeah. It's going to be, there's a lot that can happen between today or tomorrow and Saturday, because obviously you're going to get some auto bursts tomorrow that'll take place, and Saturday is what in the wrestling world we like to call the blood rounds. Those loser out matches in order to make it to the show. So yeah, gonna be fun. Some interesting matchups that are going to take place too, especially in some of those playing games, teams that they haven't seen this year. Those games tend to be crazy. Either they're blowouts or they go double OTs that we've seen in years past too. So there's going to be a whole lot of fireworks over the next, 4 days.
Yep. It'll be fun. And then next week we'll have a mini tournament preview, as the Idaho Sports will have the big tournament preview. So we'll just hit on the teams up north, but it'll be a whole bunch of fun. But all right, let's pull up the North Idaho 9 Scaggs. We decided to remove the girls because the girls season is done. We'll have a final 9 for them in 2 weeks or whatever when their state tournament wraps up. But right now at the top is still Lake City, and the 2 spots Post Falls, 3 is Lewiston, 4 Orofino, 5 is Lakeside, 6 is Kendrick, 7, or rather Kendrick, St. Mary's, and Prairie all tied for 6th, and then Coeur d'Alene, new to the list, at the 9 spot. We thought
first
Lewiston
ever appearance for the Saints, I believe, as well.
Yeah, Coeur d'Alene making an appearance. They've had a really good run. We haven't talked about them a lot this year, but they put together a real good resume in the 1A ranks and have a really good chance to make the state tournament.
Yeah, and not just go in as an 8 seed. I mean, like, they're going to go in as probably a top 5 seed, which would be huge for the Saints, and that's a team that's got some firepower. So, it's kind of like one of those teams that gets tucked away in the north, and a lot of the noise happens down south with like Rockland and Water Springs and schools like that have been there consistently over the last few years. This Coeur d'Alene team has some athleticism. They can get up and down the floor. If they're anything like their football team, man, they're fun to watch, and they're a great group of kids too. They just work insanely hard. They're gritty. The hustle plays, I think, is what stands out with that lineup, is that they're diving on the floor, chasing after loose balls, trying to take care of business. So they've earned their flowers enough to get in the North Idaho 9 this week. If one team really stands out in ours, and I think they've benefited from everybody else beating the snot out of each other, I'll look at 4 and 5 between Orofino and Lakeside. Orofino, obviously getting a huge win over St. Mary's last week, and then Kendrick taking a lump to Prairie, and Kendrick beating St. Mary's, and it's like, and then you got Lakeside that beat Prairie. They've kind of just been the benefit of everybody else beating up on each other. And honestly, I don't think you could argue about removing them from those lines right now based off of the product that's been on the floor.
Nope. And then there was also the Lewiston. We thought maybe Lewiston's a top team in the North Idaho, and Lake City proved otherwise.
Yep.
Huge win, knocked a 13-game winning streak out of Lewiston, and kind of proved that they still might be the top team out of. And Post Falls did beat Lake City not too long ago.
Yep.
So maybe 1 and 2 is a little closer than
Lewiston and Post Falls play this week. So, we want to know what's going on. Like, we're going to find out a whole lot in that top 3, over the next 24, 48 hours.
Yep. That'll be a whole bunch of fun to see how, the top of the list shakes up with Lake City and Post Falls, because I think we talked about it last week. If Post Falls was to lose to Lewiston, then Lake City would clinch the 6A district title.
Yep, outright. Yeah, without a tiebreak. Yeah.
So that will be an interesting thing to just keep your eyes on in the basketball landscape. But Scaggs, I'll hand it over to you. We don't have a lot going on in wrestling, kind of dead week, if you will. There's not a lot happening because districts is coming up soon. But what have you seen lately?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we had the North Idaho Rumble we talked about last week. So this last weekend was the Conrad Gardner up in Bonners Ferry. Tournament's been around for a long time. But, it's a chance for some of those guys that are your number 2s in your varsity lineup to probably get some good mat time before districts to maybe bolster their resume for the hopes of an at-large bid. Post Falls went in, took first with their lineup. They got some nice champs out of Sage. Hamilton got a championship as well for that group. Cole Cooper from Lakeland was a champion at one of his weights. But Lake City finished second in the team rankings, which was impressive to see for the T-Wolves, for them to jump in and be able to find a podium finish in the tournament, which is a big deal for them and a real shot in the arm. And then the Sandpoint girls ended up winning the girls' side of the tournament, getting another team title to their resume on the season. Post Falls finishing second in the girls' race of that tournament. And that's just a good prep as we got districts coming up, like you said. Those are the matches that are really going to matter because you get the 2 seeds going in, and then you get the at-large, hopes possibly coming out from any of the other placers, which could be a big deal. And that's where you're going to get your lion's share of your bonus points per se come state tournament time. But, things are winding down with wrestling, and the fun's going to start. It's where you're going to see those really gritty, crazy matches. And, that's also where the stars are going to show up too. You're going to see the guys that are going on maybe wrestling at the next level, or guys that have hopes of going to the next level. They get to have the showcase and the spotlight on them to really make their name known and kind of seal their resume from their high school careers.
Yeah, no question. Well, let's move to our last topic of the week. This one's not going to be near as I think we're not going to be laughing the entire time. No. Not near as comical. This was one that we actually put a little bit of time in. We spent probably an hour together figuring out how we wanted to rank all of these schools. But what we did was each venue, and we had different regions for each one. We have a modern region, we have an aesthetic region, we have a historic region, and then we have a rowdy region. So they don't really compile again. You can't compete against each other. So we don't have a final 4. We just have 4 winners.
Each school community has their own individual thing that they showcase about what they do. Some do multiples well too. I mean, you could say hey, this school's got a great venue, but also their fans are outstanding. But by and large, we tried to put the spotlight. It's in different areas. You can't compare, a really, really great modern venue to an old high school gym. I mean, that, it's how are we going to put them against each other? It's well, one's just aesthetically awesome because of the setting of where the place is. The other one is their fans are nuts. So, we kind of give the individual champions for 4 different brackets based on classification, or however you want to say, of who's what. So, I think this one could be fun because you don't really compare each winner to each other, like you said. But I think individually, there's a lot of things that these communities do extremely well as also.
100%. Well, we're going to go through each bracket, lay it out, and then we'll give our thoughts on what we think. And we're going to start here with the historic region. And so right now, the number 1 seed is Teeters Field in Kellogg. That's the football field. And I think also the baseball field.
Yes. Yeah.
The Bonners Ferry football at the 8 seed. Church Field, the baseball field in Lewiston, is the 5 seed, with Wallace basketball. So the basketball gym in Wallace is the 4 seed. The 3 seeds, Kellogg basketball, so their gym for basketball. The 6 seeds, Paul Atch football, their football field. The 7 seeds, Bob Squire Sports Complex in Kamiah, their track. We're going to call it more their track outfit. And then the 2 seed is the Prairie basketball gymnasium in Cottonwood. So Scaggs, run me through what you're kind of thinking here.
All right, so Teeters Field in Kellogg, if you've never been there, is a unique experience. If you've been in the booth, it's crazy because you're suspended and kind of high over the top of everything, and you get like it's almost like you get to be the sky cam. It's kind of a cool angle. But also you've got, I mean, just the craziness of it. It's a huge kind of grandstand that's covered. The sound gets, held in. It's been there forever and a day. Is it new? No. Is it awesome in its own unique way? Absolutely, it is. You got the bar that's in like the one corner that has the back deck looking over the field that you get locals yelling at you, and it's just a cool experience. And then Bonners Ferry is kind of similar. I equated it like we were talking about, like, how would you say Bonners Ferry is unique and historic? It's like, well, it feels like an old fairgrounds. Like if you've ever had like the covered grandstands and stuff like that, and noise gets trapped. That's what I would equate Bonners Ferry to. I did a playoff game up there. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. It was the first time they made the playoffs in forever and won a league championship. And you get out there, and it was like walking into a small college. I mean, everybody was tailgating. People were hooting and hollering. Fans showed up early. They're reserving seats, that type of stuff. It was just an awesome setting. You go into Church Field in Lewiston for baseball. Field-wise, condition-wise, is one of the best baseball fields in the state. I mean, it is just, from the fencing to the condition of the grass, the mound, the batter's spot. They just do a great job taking care of that place. And there's been a lot of history within the Bengal program of state championships, and that place has held state championship games. The LC Valley loves their baseball. I mean, they are fanatical about baseball down there. And it's no exception with how they care for Church Field. The 4 seed, we had Wallace basketball. That's a place that just, you walk in, it's an old brick gym. There's something in my heart about old brick gyms. It's just like, it's a cool experience. You walk in there, it's loud, the sound gets trapped. They've got a gorgeous brand new floor too. Like, I don't know if you've seen them on video, but their floor is awesome. And, they take such great care of that facility. Shout out to the athletic director, Mr. Miller, for taking care of things there at Wallace. But just a great place to go watch a game. Kellogg, the same. It's an old brick gym, has kind of the concave ceiling that, it's got the mural on one end, and it's just, it was probably built sometime in the late 60s, early 70s. You could tell it was a huge high school at one point, which Kellogg, population-wise, used to actually have more kids in the school, I think. And this is a rumor, but correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was a bigger school population than Coeur d'Alene High School at one point, student population-wise. So, but yeah, Kellogg's just a great, great old gym. I mean, it's just a really nice old gym. We're not saying modern. We're not saying it has like the cool scoreboard brought to you by some local credit union. It's just a great old facility. Paul Atch football is just one of those old, it feels like a rodeo arena. You walk in there and there's guys with chainsaws, and it's just, they love their logger football up there. The fans are crazy. It's just, that place has probably held football games, and somebody from Paul Atch can jump in the comments and correct me if I'm wrong. That thing is probably as old as my dad, if not older. So, they've been playing there forever. And I can remember when there was a time, I don't even know if there was bleachers on both sides of the field. I don't even know if there are now, but
very few.
If there is, there's very few. The Bob Squire Sports Complex in Kamiah, great place for track. I mean, if you're a District 2 track runner, how many years past of great athletes have came through the halls of Kamiah High School and had phenomenal track careers there, and other District 2 athletes that, meets of all kinds there. They host their big meets in the spring. And a beautiful setting too. I mean, this aesthetically, it could have been on the aesthetic list too. Just Cameo is a really neat little town that I think gets overlooked a lot unless you're from, Clearwater, or Idaho, or Lewis County. You don't go there very much. It's off the beaten path, and it's not even the easiest way to get to Montana. So, if you're driving through, it's kind of just one of those places that, gets a little forgotten. And then Prairie basketball, you know this because you're a Prairie grad. It's like the Hoosiers gym. I mean, if you want the stereotypical historic 2-story small high school gym, that's Prairie. I mean, I don't know what more needs to be said. And then you throw in the success of the programs over the last decades. I mean, you're going way back. How many good teams have played there? That is a cool old gym.
All right, we got one comment I want to hit on here. Valerie Johansson says, one of the best historic gyms, even though it's not high school, is Sandpoint Middle School with all the seating up top. Very old school.
It is. Yeah, that's another one. That's a good one. That's a good pull, Val.
That is a good pull. Yeah, we could. I was thinking we should have reached out to more people and got their insight before ours.
We wanted to have Booth Hall on this list, but nobody uses it anymore other than the Boys and Girls Club. So, it's one of the in Lewiston. I mean, how many years of historic programs came through there, and you throw in the old Clearwater Classic Wrestling Tournament at the old Booth Hall. I mean, there's been a ton of stuff there, but that's something we had to omit because it's just flat out not used anymore, which stinks. But, I mean, I think Lewiston, if you offer them 100 times out of 100, they're going to take their new gym over old Booth Hall. So there's that.
I would think that's a pretty good guess. Same with, old Bengal Field. I would say the new one might get chosen before that one now.
Yeah, the old Bengal Field, I mean, as a Clarkston grad, I mean, you did 4 games there this fall. I don't miss it. Just be honest.
I like the athletic complex they got going now. It's a little
nicer. You'll see that in maybe another bracket possibly. But yeah, no. So our first round matchups, I mean, we had to lean towards Kellogg against Bonners Ferry for football. Teeters Field is just so darn unique. Church Field over Wallace basketball, just the history and the setting and everything and the condition that it's still in. Kellogg basketball over Potlatch football, and then Prairie over the Bob Squire Sports Complex there in Cameo.
Yeah, and then in the finale, we went Churchfield and Kellogg, and we ended up going with Kellogg. And I think it's not because Churchfield isn't unique. It's Churchfield almost could have been put as, I guess we don't have another region that I'm thinking of, but Churchfield's a very aesthetically pleasing field. I like it. It's right next to the church. Also, that's a field that I've always seen growing up that I've always been a huge fan of. And then Kellogg basketball, it's just hard to look past it. I just figured it had the edge over Prairie and then also over Churchfield as well. But I like how we had all sports kind of involved in this one.
Yeah.
In this region.
100%.
All right.
I think we did a decent job with this one.
I think we did too. And like we said, if there's more people like Val that are like, hey, here's a better school, you should let us know in the comments.
Yeah, it's all right. Well, I mean, you have Moscow that they don't even play at the high school, and the old high school gym is tiny. It's historic, it's a cool old building, but they play everything at the junior high. So in the Bear Den and the football field and the track and baseball, everything's at the junior high. So I mean, yeah, that happens too.
That's fair enough. All right, the second bracket, the aesthetically pleasing region. All right, the number 1 seed is War Memorial Field. That's for the Sandpoint Bulldogs. The 8 seed is the Clearwater Valley Football Field. The 5 seeds, Volmer Bowl in Lewiston. The 4 seeds, Priest River Football, their football field. The 3 seeds, Grangeville Football, their field in Grangeville. The 6 seeds, Timberlake Football in Timberlake or Spirit Lake. And then the 7 seed is Clark Fork Football, their field. And then the 2 seed is Orofino Baseball. There's some good ones in this region.
There is some great ones in this one, and there was ones that we probably left off too. I mean, this was, I think, between you and I, the one I think we struggled with the most. War Memorial Field is, I mean, it gets talked about a fair amount, just the setting, how beautiful it is right on the shores of Lake Pend Oreille. I mean, you've got the mountain right there in the background too, and the long bridge that you can see from the field. and just so many cool things about that setting. I mean, we've seen guys kick field goals into the lake. So it's just, they redid it and rebuilt it. I think it was like 6-7 years ago, when they got the renovations done on it. I remember the old War Memorial Field that was like, it hosted football, and then it felt like you could do a demolition derby out there the next weekend. And you're in the press box, and it was rickety, hanging from the ceiling. And if things got too rowdy in the stands, you'd have to kind of brace yourself. Otherwise you could fall out of the booth into the stands below. And actually you would be falling on the sideline, because you were literally suspended over Sandpoint's sideline, in that old stadium. But the new place is just unbelievable. And it not only is it football, but it's also baseball, softball, soccer, the multi-use facility that it is. And then they throw in the festival at Sandpoint that gets hosted there as well. Just a gorgeous facility. And then you throw in Clearwater Valley, at the 8th seed, beautiful setting there along the South Fork of the Clearwater River. It's right there off the field, kind of off the corner. If you're playing baseball, I think it's off, the left or right field out there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just a really, really neat setting in a cool, small little town. Volmer Bowl in Lewiston. The reason we could use this is because it is still used by high school athletics, because they hold the District 2 meet of champions there. So we were able to include this on the list. Volmer Bowl is so darn unique, and I've got memories there from running track in high school, the old Seaport relays they used to have there. But just, it's right on the edge where you drop down from Normal Hill down to downtown, and you can look straight out into the Clearwater River and look out into downtown. Just such a unique and cool location. I thought it would have been like the world's best football stadium if they ever decided to turn it into football. It would have been incredible. But I don't know where they would put, all the facilities that have to go along with it, like locker rooms and stuff like that. But just a very, very neat track. Priest River football feels like, I mean, I know you can't bring guns to school, right? But it's the place that I would go watch a high school football game and then maybe go elk hunting after the game.
All right, fair enough. Didn't think you were going there with that.
Didn't know where I was going, right? But no, I mean, you can have a football game and you got moose walking out on the field, like that type of stuff. I mean, and they redid it, and it is beautiful. I mean, you talk about a 10 out of 10 on a high school renovation for a smaller school. They knocked it out of the park. I mean, and we talked about it during football season, that a football guy will appreciate a good crown. Well, the field crown and everything on that thing is just so it sheds water to one sideline or the other. Just a great field, great facility that they did, and a phenomenal job with the renovations on it. Grangeville football, you get to play out. You're playing out in kind of a grain field. It's awesome. It's right off the side of the mountains. Beautiful. I don't think you get better sunsets at a football game in September and early October than you get at Grangeville. It's just awesome. You get the golden hour during games and stuff. I can remember, doing a game there once and then watching game film from other teams, and you're like, holy cow, where are they playing? It's Field of Dreams type stuff. It's just amazing. Timberlake's a great setting too. I mean, you're right there in Spirit Lake, kind of on the south end of town, and you've got the mountain, Mount Spokane will peek out in the background, above the lake and all that stuff. It's just an awesome, really cool setting as well. Same with Clark Fork. Just the setting of that valley is just beautiful. Not a place that a lot of people get to, but just an awesome community. And then there's Orfino baseball. I don't really know how much more needs to be said about that place, because it's just gorgeous. The setting where it is below the school and overlooking the Clearwater River and all the trees and everything else is just an amazing facility. And plus the field's pretty darn nice too. It's not just the setting being nice, but everything about that place is pretty great.
Yeah, Orfino baseball is a top tier region. I like that place a lot. So we picked Orfino over Timberlake, and then we did go War Memorial Field over Volmer Bowl. I've been to Volmer Bowl a handful of times, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I could tell you how to get there. It kind of hides.
It does.
I don't know if I could tell you where it's at in Lewiston.
Yeah, because it's you've got to go, if you go to the fire station. So if you're coming from downtown, you go past the old fire station and you just shoot up the hill. And I mean, for folks that are from the valley, it used to be a grocery outlet at the bottom of the hill. And that's the only way I could remember how to get there, was that I'd come from downtown to go up. Because if I tried to come from the high school, I'd take a wrong turn and end up some back way coming back by grocery outlet, but completely missing Volmer Bowl. So Yeah, it is kind of hidden back in there. It's a weird location.
It's a cool spot though. And then we ended up picking War Memorial Field over Orofino baseball. It's hard to beat,
Yep.
right on the lake. That's
Yep.
probably one of the best venues you could possibly have.
Well, it's unbelievable. I mean, nationally, I think you could put that up with a lot of places.
No doubt there. All right. Third region. It's the modern region. The number 1 seed is the P1FCU Athletic Complex for Lewiston High School. The 8 seed is the softball fields in Moscow. The 5 seeds, the fields at Real Life. That's held by multiple teams. The 4 seeds, the James E. Russell Athletic Complex for Sandpoint Tennis. That's a pretty cool spot.
Dude, my goodness. Yeah.
The 3 seed is Lake City's basketball gym. That's also a really cool spot. And same with the arena for Post Falls. The 7 seeds Merriman Health Center for football and softball. A couple teams participate in sports there. And then the 2 seeds Coeur d'Alene football, another just really cool region, Scaggs. There's a lot of really high class, well, not high class, but just high quality venues we have.
Yeah, I mean, I think any of these you could say, like, in their respective sport would be in the top 3 in the state. So it's really tough to pick this one because some of the modern stuff that we're getting finally in Northern Idaho is like, dude, we're getting some pretty nice stuff. And I'll go to the 4 seed. The James E. Russell Athletic Complex in Sandpoint is unflippin' believable. Like, what they were able to put together there is incredible between the outdoor courts, the indoor tennis courts. There's, a number of other activities and parks and everything else there at that facility. I mean, hats off to the Sandpoint community for getting that thing put together because it is unbelievably awesome. And I hope someday they get to host at least a state tournament there. I don't know if that would ever happen, but I mean, good because you can't have multiple classifications there just because of size. But holy smokes, is that an awesome facility? The arena and Lake City, I look at that 3-6 matchup is a tough one. That's kind of a coin flip. We went back and forth on it. What sealed it for me, it sounds dumb, but the mural at Lake City is so rad.
It is. That's why I recognize it. I'm like, oh yeah, that place is sweet.
Yeah, the mural on the one side of the gym is just awesome. But both are great facilities. I mean, they're great places to go watch a basketball game or arena. If you throw in for wrestling, that place is nuts too. And so, both those facilities are great. And I think Coeur d'Alene High School is another one that you could put right in that mix as well. On the outside looking in, they're both, they're all top-notch facilities. The fields at Real Life does a great job. I mean, 2 really nice soccer fields. Their turf. Coeur d'Alene Charter plays there. They host the state soccer tournament there, I think every other year now, or almost every year it seems. But just a really neat facility that's able to be accessed by the community thanks to the folks of the church. But yeah, and then the Merriam Health Center is, and I had to put the / softball because they finally got the softball fields finished. Dude, those 2 softball fields are the nicest softball fields in North Idaho, and it's not even a competition. Like, they're incredible. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's not even close how great that facility is for softball. And it's an amazing 8-man football field. That is unbelievable. And, how awesome is it of the tribe to build that facility for the youth and the community? Lakeside uses it. Also, Court of Christ plays games there as well. They've got the workout facility inside. They've got the indoor water park stuff going on too. It's just such an awesome place. That one is super hard to beat.
And that's why it was our upset pick because I've always just, whenever I drive by, either on my way home or on my way to Coeur d'Alene, I'm always like, yeah, I really should stop at that water park. Like it's a lot. It looks like a lot.
Yeah, the slide running out of the side of the building and running back in, and I mean, come on.
Yeah, I will say the top side of the bracket with the P1FCU Athletics Complex and the James E. Russell Athletic Complex, that was probably one of our harder picks that we had. Yeah. Just because they are very top tier facilities. We gave the edge to Lewiston.
And they're unique too, like in their own right as well.
Yes. Yeah. Not too often do you see an indoor athletic complex probably in just that to that level for tennis.
Well, and then you throw in the P1FC Athletic Complex too. It's the stuff that they're continuing to add is the part that's crazy for me because of the soccer fields that they're adding. They're going to have the field house that's in the northeast corner of the end zone that's going to be awesome. That's going to have turf in it and a weight room and all that other stuff. And it's eventually going to have a locker room in there. And then you throw in the 70-yard practice field off the south side. You throw in the tennis courts, the softball fields that are coming. I mean, that place is unbelievable. I mean, it's, what I know that it costs the residents of Lewiston a chunk with the property taxes, but we talk about return of investment in athletics, and the results are showing up, and some of the success that the teams are having. And you throw in the gym too, just a phenomenal gym complex as well. Lewiston's got, P1FCU threw a lot of money at that too to make that happen. So let's be honest about that, because they threw a fat check at the Lewiston School District to put their name on it, but two, to make that thing happen, and the lights and everything else. It's just an unbelievable facility.
Yeah, the light show that Lewiston puts together during the football games those are cool. Those are impressive. You don't see that very many other places. So the P1FCU gets the win for the modern region. And then our last region is the Rowdy region. We couldn't come up with another name other than Rowdy, so we settled for that one. But
it's the unsportsmanlike penalty on the crowd bracket. Yeah.
Yep. Kind of. Yeah. That's a good way to put it. So the number 1 seed is held by the Post Falls Trojans football team. The 8 seed is St. Mary's basketball. The 5 seeds Bonners Ferry basketball. The 4 seeds Kendrick football. The 3 seeds Lakeland football. The 6 seeds Logos football. The 7 seeds held by Troy volleyball. And the 2 seeds held by Lapway basketball. Some very enthusiastic fans, to say the least, for every 8 of these teams.
Yeah, and I mean, you can have unique stories about each individual fan base and their crowds, and memorable moments, and especially recent successes, but also past success as well. Looking at Lapway basketball, I mean, how many decades of greatness has happened there in Lapway, and you throw in their new gym that probably could have been in the modern region as well. Like that, those are communities that just love their respective programs and their kids a whole lot. So getting Lapway in that first round win, and Lapway against Lakeland, as far as fan base that's a tough matchup. I mean, Lapway brings it, and they travel in droves. You go to state, and their half of the gym is just packed to the gills. And it's like hotels, the same hotel, the Holiday Inn Express in Nampa, I think has been booked out in advance every year, like probably 2 months out. They say that Lapway's block that they account for is full within a month or 2 months of state tournament every single year. And I mean, that's impressive when you can do stuff like that. Lakeland getting the win, though, I will tell you this, and then you have the upper part with Post Falls and Kendrick, and you can add to this too. But Kendrick, smaller school size, we understand that. But you look at what they bring to the table when they play in the Kiwi Dome and other places like that. I mean, that fan base travels too, and the Tigers love their football. And they love their basketball too, because they're pretty dang rowdy with their basketball teams as well. But that's a fun fan base. They don't have the numbers, but they really bring the enthusiasm. Post Falls football is awesome. You go to one of their games, it's like going to a college game. It really is. There's people tailgating. They've got food trucks. They've got fanfare. They've got people sitting in the grass and in chairs and blankets and everything else, because the bleachers can't hold everyone. It's just an awesome fan base. And for a team that's really hungry for a winner consistently, and not always getting that result, but they still show up in droves. I mean, they can have a 3-6 football team, and you go to a game there on a Friday night, it's still full. And so hats off. But Lakeland, for me, took the cake with this year, and they had one, the success, but two, the T-Mobile thing that they did where they had the fans voting. They were, I think finished in the top 2 or 3 in the country for fan vote response for getting a new stadium and everything else. And I was at the game when they played Timberlake, when they had the T-Mobile night. And then we did a couple games up there for football too during the season. That, that old place doesn't hold a bunch of people at Corbett Field, but holy cow, do they bring it. And they pack that place in, and they do the same thing. They're sitting in the grass. They're standing around by the tennis courts. I mean, that thing, they could build, they don't have bleachers on the visitor side necessarily. They have like 2 small, tiny sets that, never gets used. If they put in 2 sets of bleachers on either side, I would have a hard time thinking that they don't pack at least one full side and half the other side with the amount of people that show up at games on Friday nights in Rathdrum.
No doubt there. Lakeland, with what they do with T-Mobile, I think it almost made it more of a statewide fan
Yeah.
base. Like people wanted Lakeland to win, right? And there were
Yes.
so many people that were voting and trying to be a part of it. People posting everywhere on social media. So shout out to Lakeland. That's why they get the win. Is how much effort they put into that and really showed their, determination to their home team, and it almost paid off for them. So that was really cool. But this was a fun bracket for us, Scaggs. I mean, like we said, we put a lot of time into it. If there's any people in the comments that have any differences of opinion, I'd love to hear them, because we thought long and hard
And if you got
about who we
anything
were
that's like,
missing.
hey, you guys are forgetting this place. This is like, let us know, because maybe it's somewhere we haven't been, or like we haven't been in a hot minute. And you're like, man, you're really forgetting about this. Like there was one in the aesthetic one that I know that we left off and I couldn't find a place for it. Mullen. Mullen is the holy cow. I mean, I've never walked out, and the stands aren't great. The press box is not great. But I've never stood in a press box and looked out across the football field and kind of had my breath taken away. It was just unbelievable. Like we had a game there in the playoffs, and all of the tamarack trees had turned gold, and it was just unbelievable how beautiful it was there. So that was one place that not a lot of people go, because it's there's 105 people that live there, and there's 20 kids in the high school. But yeah, one of those places is just really special, beautiful place.
Absolutely. Well, that was a fun bracket for us to do, but that'll be it for us on the North Idaho Prepcast. That's Ryan Scaggs. I'm Hayden Uhlenkott. Make sure you tune in next week and always share with your friends and family to see how many people we can get to see the North Idaho Prepcast. We'll see you next time.